The ukulele has had a rich cultural history, a wild pop culture story, and has now found its way into pubs, schools, retirement homes, festivals, and apparently also castle ruins. I have found it to be a very accessible instrument, one that can encourage musical growth across the lifespan, can help overcome vulnerability and build courage, and can support social connection and a sense of belonging. Today, I'd like to take you through some of the ukulele activities I've introduced around my community of Guelph, Ontario. I was fortunate to grow up exposed to a lot of music, trained in classical piano and a degree in music, and even a little ukulele in elementary school as part of the programs inspired by J. Chalmers Doan. About 10 years ago, after more than a decade of sadly very little music making in my life, I had a sudden urge to play ukulele again. I bought myself a uke, and it literally changed my life. Before long, I had started teaching music again and running programs in my community. The uke was an accessible and surprisingly robust teaching tool. Over the years since, I've run several programs for children, including lunchtime ukulele clubs and after-school programs. Students in these classes would learn some basic music literacy and musicianship while playing together as a group. It was such a joy to make music with them. I've taught workshops and one-off sessions in the community and around the world. Here in Guelph, this has ranged from arts festivals to community events, corporate team building to wellness week initiatives. I catered my sessions to the specific event and attendees, often dragging 20 or more of my own ukuleles with me for participants to play. I've taught a first-year seminar class at the University of Guelph called The Mighty Ukulele, Finding Its Place in Education, Medicine, Culture, and Community. This was a unique experience that allowed me to introduce not only music making, but also much discussion and exploration around the instrument's history, its place in the current musical landscape, and the role of music itself in our lives. For the last 8 years, I've run a series of 4-week classes in partnership with a local Irish pub. Though directed towards adults, I would routinely have participants ranging in age from tweens up to people in their 80s in these sessions. I worked hard to ensure that it was a lively and welcoming space where things didn't have to be perfect, and it was all about having fun while we learned and made music together. Some of them had never picked up an instrument in their whole life, or had had a negative experience as a child. After the first week or two, though their fingers were a little sore and things weren't perfect, many would tell me of their newfound joy of being able to finally make music. Many of these participants became so engaged, they asked, "What next?" And the Royal City Ukulele Ensemble was born. People were ready to keep pushing themselves further with their learning and their playing, and in this group, I really saw the possibilities of this instrument as a tool for connection, belonging, well-being, and lifelong learning. One of the challenges for me was creating a dynamic, engaging environment to keep the learning moving forward, but also it had to be fun, and equally important, it had to be a group they felt they belonged to. Being able to say that they were part of this ensemble was a source of pride for many of them. Being inclusive and empathetic, that concept of hospitality, that everyone is welcome and everyone can belong. Some wonderful friendships have been formed in the ensemble. Some have been through harrowing health challenges and have shared with me that the ensemble and music making played a role in their ability to push through those health challenges, providing both a distraction and perceived healing benefits. We also have a wonderful relationship with a local retirement and long-term care home. Our weekly sessions take place in their hobby room, and residents feel free to pop in and listen to us, or just dance and sing as they go by in the hall. Every few months, we give a performance for them too. It's a partnership that I've been so grateful for, and one that reinforces for me the importance of music throughout the lifespan. Transitioning the group to an online environment during the pandemic was a challenge, but we did it. I spent the last 3 months of our 6th season teaching remotely. One of the best things to come from this was a series of virtual audio recordings. I would create a play-along track and send it out to the ensemble members. They would record their parts and send them back to me for final editing. Many told me how vulnerable they felt during this process of having to listen to themselves play and sing alone and then send that recording off to me. Talk about courage. I never made these mandatory, but about half of the ensemble participated, and with that, I was able to pull together what became a joyful eye-opener, or rather ear-opener, that many said was worth the nervousness they felt during their isolated recording process. And that it became a little easier with each successive recording. They were building that courage and creating music together alone. I would play these recordings through Zoom in subsequent classes instead of just leading it myself so that the group actually heard each other playing as they played along. It was almost as though we were really hearing and playing with each other in real time, an important piece of feeling like we were still making music together. One last thing I'll mention about the ensemble program was that we saved up all the honorariums that we had received from our community performances over the course of a few years, and we were able to purchase a class set of ukuleles and method books for a local elementary school. It was the perfect way for us to pay it forward to next generations of music makers, and we hope to do it again next season. I had also been wanting to create a big annual community event. In 2017, I founded the annual Royal City Uke Fest with some of my ensemble members, and we created an engaging weekend full of ukulele workshops and performances from international teaching artists, jams, open mics, and more. Most of the 225 attendees each year are from our region, but some come from as far away as the southern US and western Canada. Exploring scholarship around community music alongside my practice has really expanded and deepened my thinking. Each one informs the other. My growing understanding of it and where the work I'm doing fits within the spectrum of community music has been so helpful, blending music education and community music in various ways. Aspects like intergenerational connection and hospitality, areas that are now top of mind for me in my work. A few areas in particular have become research interests for me as well, and each of them tie into my personal practice. Concepts like belonging, vulnerability and courage, serious leisure, and of course, ideas around well-being, health, and wholeness. In my own programs, or when I'm teaching with others, I use the ukulele to encourage welcoming, joyful, and brave spaces for people to learn, grow, connect, and participate. I've seen it create communities, strengthen bonds within families, friends, and strangers, and give people a sense of belonging. A mighty little instrument indeed.